Rod, I was thinking about your lifelines. Do you want more free association, or do you want to be left alone with that?
Well, I'm interested in what you have to say, but I was actually thinking, it popped into my head while I was looking at my lifelines. I completely forgot that my character is an interrogator.
Especially because it's not an in-fiction role, it's what they do.
But
Right.
imagine you're the sort of person who demands yes/no questions from people, and you're in a cult.
Right.
Yes.
Exactly. And
That can't end badly.
yeah, that's exactly what I was thinking, Rod. I think you totally nailed what you need to hook it with. Let's see, Robbie, your wolfling ended up being a for the type, just a scout? No, a
ranger.
A ranger. So it's kind of interesting. I mean, your proclivities as a ranger, your preference is to do ranger stuff. It's kind of like getting grabbed. I mean, if you were a soldier, then your lifelines actually would just be kind of all self-reinforcing. Mm-hmm. But the idea that your character probably has no liking for being stuck in a barracks, told to march in rows and go fight these guys,
right?
That's a whole different interaction. Without the lover, you've got a really incredible, almost boring little narrative. Mm-hmm. But with the lover, all of a sudden it's a drama. So who knows, did you come home to discover that he'd killed himself? What? Or she, or whoever.
Yeah, and I'd have to kind of maybe think about, what were the circumstances that led to that suicide? Yeah.
Right. Did they, couldn't live without you, or, in some wimpy way, or was it some awful thing? What's your character value? You idolize no one.
Right. I value a knick-knack.
And you value a knick-knack, but wait, what's the other thing? No, your object is, I forget. There's another one in there.
Oh, I idolize an outlaw.
You idolize an outlaw. So, who knows? That's really interesting too. Yeah, you got a lot. You've got some solid material there if you choose to dramatize it up. Which would make a lot of sense.
And personality traits as well. And
right.
Yeah, violent and emotional. Yeah.
Man, a deep-voiced woman with white hair and a crew cut who can change into a wolf.
Yeah.
You're hitting a whole lot of buttons that I didn't know I had.
I think I saw that movie in 1988.
I know, seriously.
Yeah, well, and I don't know, like it has as one of the skills brawling.
Yes.
I was thinking about putting would that count as my weapon if I wanted to, like my +1 weapon thing? I'll add it to that brawling ability.
Yeah, you can count that. That's definitely a weapon skill. It's what you use to hit people with clubs, apart from here.
Yeah, and so in terms of the shopping, I mean, am I understanding correct that we should mainly be focusing on like what armor and weaponry we're thinking of? You were saying.
I'm saying you probably want to pick some. You probably want to have some armor, potentially, if you're going to get into fights.
I think.
I have an interesting observation, which is that my interrogate skill. Well, I have the special ability, but there's a skill called interrogate that runs off charm. Mm-hmm. So in order to not take a hit on charm, I needed to spend $100 on clothes. So,
right.
So there's some interesting exigencies in the equipment based on
which is also
what your actual skills are.
Yeah. Charm is important for my character, and it is 13. But currently I'm just wearing ordinary clothes, which is all I could afford.
Right.
So, therefore, I'm limited in my charm at the moment. So I'll be looking for an upgrade in clothes when I get the chance. I'm also, you'll see. Right now she's slovenly and has tattered hair. I might do some, recovery, activity as part of the role-playing.
Reasons to go adventuring.
Yeah. And there's a couple other interesting details here and there.
Robbie, to answer your question, I I was just suggesting you probably want to pick some armor because it's useful. Weapons are kind of fun just because it kind of, I figure it kind of gives you a bit of more character to your person. Although what's the word? You get various a war axe is not as good as a sledgehammer, is not as good as a military pick things. I am not particularly bothered that we stick to those, and if you want to have a hand axe which has a damage rating of whatever 19 and you spend enough money on it, you can call it what you like as far as I'm concerned.
I think if I understand correctly, you were saying if we want to buy a few torches, we will have time to do it before we go underground. It's not like we have to do make or break right now as to whether we have torches or not.
That seems not fun. So right. I did suggest maybe if you've got some spare cash and you want to say, I don't know,
20, retroactive
20
purchasing.
20 bronze is in gear and 10 bronze is in my pouch, so I can bribe that person over there.
Right.
That might make it like you've had to make some sort of choice, but I'm not particularly bothered, and I'm sure you can. I'm sure you can be trusted to not suddenly claim you have loads of gear that you can't afford or anything. To be honest, I'm also envisaging play that doesn't necessarily throw you into hostile environments with no opportunity to prepare and no opportunity to decide what risks you want to take in that. But that comes to the last thing I was going to say, which is obviously once we have some fleshed out histories and some idea of where people might be ending up, I will have to think about.
Yeah,
we can all think about where people would like to be and what they would like to do, and particularly if you have some goals, what your character's aiming towards.
So all of the lifeline stuff is going to give Ross a whole ton of NPCs.
Yes.
Right.
And if I'm not mistaken, it will almost certainly dictate a fairly clear place on the map for us to be.
Yeah.
And I think Ross should probably just tell us where we are after looking at all the lifelines.
Yes, and thinking of some fun things to make you do and things like that.
And then, we already talked about a couple of places that seem to jump out. And then, but the point is that he's going to have to figure out like stuff about what to do with maybe 10 NPCs.
Right.
And what's that got to do? I mean, that's one thing that sort of surprised me about Legendary Lives was a little bit like Champions. For preparing, I was suddenly landed all of these really active NPCs and goals.
Right.
And I was like, wow, wait a minute. I can't run them through a dungeon. This is all about this. And that's one reason why the material at the website just made me head desk.
Well, it is just written with you can't write an adventure through whatever is going to drive Rob's character and Robbie's character.
Right. I mean, so basically you have to take all that great character work, which is the huge strength of this game, throw it out the window, and then do a comedy romp through a river, a river adventure. And, that's where the game totally fails as a text in saying what you do with all this great material. Unless you just want to sort of do your little I'm a pirate with a romantic background routine in between fights, which is sort of a disappointing outcome for that.
Question just on the character sheet.
Yep.
You have a section for relationships.
Yeah.
Yes. It never tells you what to put there, but I imagine. Well, obviously some of them drop out of your
lifelines. Yeah.
Yeah. I just pulled out the lifelines. Yeah.
Okay.
But they could also be people who are implied by your lifelines who you think would be interesting. So, for example, you have a lover who's committed suicide, but they could well have relatives and people who they cared about. And if you come across them in writing your history, then definitely tell me something about them there as well. Or I'll make them up. Surprise you.
And then another, and since there's so many of them, I mean, there's like 15 slots there, or however many. 12 at least. If you, one imagines that that's also places where NPCs that we get interested in as we go along are involved. I mean, the three characters are kind of like alienated and weird. You've got your, you know, the
Traumatized by war and
traumatized by
prison.
war, prison, and you know, agoraphobia for some reason. And so and the hermit, right, with his phobia or her phobia. You've kind of, so they're all scarred basically.
Yeah.
Kind of a three gloomy chicks.
I'm sure right at the beginning of this, you were saying how it's quite light-hearted, really, Ron, but as a game.
Wait, say that again, Russ?
I'm sure I remember you saying it was quite a light-hearted game in some ways earlier on. Ron.
Well, it reads lighthearted, that's for sure.
I know.
Well, there's certainly a current of whimsy.
Right,
that
right.
I don't think is going away, but
The crew cut just does it. I mean, it's just I'm imagining like this female Dolph Lundgren
with white hair. Yeah.
But so, I mean, yeah, by throwing them together, you're already getting. It's kind of like the whimsy takes care of itself. You don't have to work at it.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's true. I was going to say, it kind of has this sort of caricature-y stereotype thing, and I think our kind of aim might be to ensure they are real people. There's some value of real people, even though they are.
It's an interesting mix. It's an interesting mix. It reminds you of Ralph Bakshi at his best when you have these extremely cartoony characters who then actually have some kind of drama going on that you care about.
It's definitely still kind of a certain amount of it's in primary colours, I think. But it's kind of, hopefully, we'll care about what happens to these characters.
I'm already caring. I quite like them.
So, hope that made sense to everyone.
Any ideas on names?
Yeah.
What about what do we got for Wolfling names? What does it say?
Some of them are very. How can we find the most werewolf-sounding name in the world?
No, they had Lycanthra.
Oh, did they really? Oh my God!
Nice.
Yeah, Lycanthra. Oh my God! Woof, Lawn, Hair. Oh, Cheney, of course. Harry. Yeah. Biter. Garou. Growler. I don't know. What are you going to go with? Snarl. Snarla.
Snarla.
But
That's good.
It's all,
I just came up with it.
although it is also at least vaguely suggested that wolflings grow up in one of the other human cultures if they want to. They pick names any way you like, really, Robbie.
I took the hint and I picked Christabel.
So yeah, if people want to email backwards and forwards if they want to spitball some more ideas and things about their backgrounds as well, that would be cool. But yeah, get me something in the next couple of days by the end of the week, and we'll hopefully meet up again next Tuesday to do this again. And
All right.
Sounds
kick
great.
stuff off, and I will talk more about how the actual system works and fill people in on that.